sides to
Hello and welcome, I'm Ellie Richardson and you're watching the World Report on NewsX World. Let's take a look at some of the top headlines of this hour. President Donald Trump raised the global duty of imports into the United States to 15%, doubling down on his promise to maintain his aggressive tariff policy a day after the Supreme Court ruled much of it illegal. Brazil's President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva urged Donald Trump to treat all countries equally after the US leader imposed a 15% tariff on imports. US envoy Steve Witkoff said on Saturday that President Donald Trump is questioning why Iran has not capitulated in the face of Washington's military buildup. Russia fired scores of missiles and drones at targets across Ukraine, crashing into energy and rail infrastructure and residential buildings. Pakistan said that it launched multiple airstrikes targeting militants in neighbouring Afghanistan, where the government reported children were among dozens of people killed and wounded. Arab and Islamic countries issued a joint condemnation of remarks by US Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee, who suggested Israel had a biblical right to a vast swath of the Middle East. Greenland does not need medical assistance from other countries, Denmark's defence minister has said, after US President Donald Trump claimed he was sending a hospital ship to Greenland. Somaliland is willing to give the United States access to its minerals and military bases, a minister has told, as the breakaway region of Somalia seeks international recognition. And for your top story this hour, Iran and the United States have differing views on the conditions for lifting sanctions in exchange for limiting Tehran's nuclear activities. A senior Iranian official confirmed to a local media that renewed talks are scheduled for early March, with hopes for an interim agreement. The official emphasised that Iran's right to uranium enrichment within the framework of the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, NPT, must be fully recognised by the US. Tehran is exploring options, including the potential export of parts of its highly enriched uranium stockpile, diluting its purity level, and establishing a regional consortium as possible solutions. Iran and the United States have differing views on the conditions for lifting sanctions in exchange for limiting Tehran's nuclear activities. A senior Iranian official has confirmed to a local media that renewed talks are scheduled for early March, with hopes for an interim agreement. The official emphasised that Iran's right to uranium enrichment within the framework of the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, NPT, must be fully recognised by the US. We are now being joined by Ali Mohammed Abushka, who is a Middle East researcher joining us from Cairo. Thank you so much for joining us here today on NewsX World. Thank you. So how significant is the divergence between Iran and the US over the scope and mechanisms of sanctions relief, and why has this become a major striking point in the talks?
First of all, thank you for having me. Things is always Iran usually used to negotiate to relieve the sanction again, I said out on it. So during the negotiation 5+1 in 2015, one of the significant point or phase of the negotiation was not the only the enrichment for the Iran. It was also that it relieved the sanction and leave the sanction from Iran. So since that the Islamic Revolution have been success in Iran in 1979, the Western country and Iran was suffering from the Western sanction. That's make it the economy more difficult and more miserable for Iranian economy and the life situation and lifestyle of Iran. It was more difficult. That's it. Iran insist and stress on the sanction thing, on the sanction and relieve the sanction. In my opinion, as well as for Iran, it's more important. Iran have been under the siege for more than 40 years, and similar happened with Saddam Hussein regime. Iraqi regime before they attacked the regime in 2003 and before the American invasion for Iraq, it was also suffering from the American sanction and the economic isolation from Western country that collapsed the regime. Same things Iran reached to this conclusion. If that sanction or the economic sanction is not going to relieve, so that the regime it's going to collapse. Especially here we are talking about the protest last year that sparked in because of and the people broke out because of the economic crisis and because of the currency value. So this thing it's more important and essential for the negotiation delegation of Iran to relieve the sanction that's maintain the regime, especially Donald Trump. He usually continuous confirmed that it changed the regime one of the good option, and it's no doubt about Donald Trump. He like a technique hit and run. He doesn't like a long-term war against their enemy or for his purpose. So Iran reached to this conclusion. If that's the sanction, if it's still maintained, it's easy to make the regime more weak, and it's easy to be ready to collapse. And this is the most important. That's it. Iran last 2 days also imposed a sanction against several of American figure and American Navy and consider it in a blacklist, terrorist blacklist. So the thing is, the imposed the unusual sanction between both of them. Iran want to show also itself that it's ready for any option. If you are going through the war, we are ready. If you are going to impose the sanction, we are ready. Despite Iran is still, not much ready for the war, in my opinion. But also, it's an indirect message. It's like a last bullet. Iran doesn't have anything, so it should this bullet. So these things is very important, and Iran is ready now to leave the enrichment. And we talking about, the news report talk about Iran is ready also to transfer the uranium from Iran to another country, neutral country, and etc. So this is more important for them. The economy and relieve the sanction is essential for the regime nowadays, and make it that the economy a little bit fresh.
And can an interim deal still be reached in early March despite these differences, or are the gaps still too wide?
There is no doubt there is a huge gap between both of them. And there is no doubt the war is coming, it's coming. And America, it will hit Iran, there is no doubt, despite they will reach to the agreement or they will not reach to zero agreement. So this is that, historically, during Saddam Hussein regime, during Muammar al-Gaddafi, during Bashar al-Assad, and during Khomeini as well, both of them, they have a several share story. All of them, they are against America. All of them, they try to be close to America after the sanction. All of them, they try to create a nuclear program. Saddam Hussein and also Muammar al-Gaddafi. Ultimately, and of all of them, they try to be very close to America and to leave everything, and they left their nuclear program. But ultimately, they bombed them and they attacked them. Saddam Hussein in 2003 and Bashar and Muammar al-Gaddafi, NATO, they took this duty in 2011, and they are throw over him. So the thing is, all in this region, the history is sharing about these things, and no doubt Iran they will receive a bomb. But the things here, they are looking for the alternative regime. There is no one, according to Wall Street Journal, there is a report about it. There is no any opposition is ready for to take over this country and to be an alternative for Khamenei regime. Especially all the opposition is weak and there is no one confirmation about them. So that's make it a value gap in Iran. That will make it more chaos, like what we have seen in Iraq. Al-Qaeda have been emergence, and the ISIS have been emergence after the American attack in 2003. That will make the situation and the global system is unstable. So that's it. I guess Donald Trump is thinking about it, and there is no doubt that the hate between Israel and Iran as well. We can't ignore the rule of Benjamin Netanyahu. Is continuously, he and his government coalition, they are talking about attacking Iran and hit Iran and defending it. I mean, erasing Iran because they have a missile program that's imposed the danger to the Israel. So these things, there is no doubt about it. Iran, despite if there is a gap, or there is no gap, if they will reach to the agreement or they will not reach to the agreement, ultimately they will bomb them and they will throw over the regime.
Thank you, Ali. Please don't go too far, as we will be coming back to you very shortly. Denmark's Defence Minister, Troels Lund Poulsen, has stated that Greenland does not require medical assistance from other countries. His remarks came after US President Donald Trump claimed on social media that a hospital ship was on its way to Greenland to assist with healthcare needs. Poulsen stated that Greenland's population receives the healthcare it needs through its regional hospitals, with more specialised treatments provided in Denmark. Greenland, an autonomous Danish territory, has 5 regional hospitals, with Nuuk serving as the primary medical centre. Earlier this month, Greenland signed an agreement with Denmark to improve patient care in Danish hospitals. Trump's comments about sending the hospital ship were dismissed by Poulsen, who referred to them as part of the new normal in international politics. We are now being joined by Dr. Gilbert Doctorow, who is a Russian affairs expert joining us from Brussels. Thank you so much for joining us here today on NewsX World. How does this decision interact with ongoing US-Greenland talks on strategic and security cooperation?
Well, the significance of sending the ship is nil. But it is important messaging to Denmark and to the EU that Mr. Trump has not forgotten about Greenland. And I think he fully expects that before the end of his term, he will own Greenland.
And could rejecting the hospital ship affect Greenland's access to emergency healthcare support from any international partners?
Well, that's a speculative question. As I said, the important thing here is not the substance of the hospital ship and the assistance that is being offered. It is the messaging.
Thank you, Dr. Gilbert. Please don't go too far, as we will be back with you very shortly. Somaliland has said it is willing to grant the United States access to its minerals, resources and military bases in a move aimed at deepening strategic and economic ties. Officials in Somaliland said such cooperation could bring investment and security benefits, while strengthening their international profile. The territory, which declared independence from Somalia in 1991 but lacks widespread recognition, has sought stronger partnerships with Western powers. Somaliland President Abridam Mohamed Abdullahi already suggested in recent weeks granting Israel privileged access to its mineral resources. Somaliland lies across the Gulf of Aden from Yemen, where Houthi rebels have often attacked Israeli assets to show solidarity with Palestinians. Somaliland officials have said their soil is rich in lithium, coltan and other sought-after resources, though independent studies are lacking. We are now being rejoined by Ali Mohammed Abushbak, who is joining us again from Cairo. Thank you for joining us back here on NewsX World. Thank you. What strategic interests are driving US engagement with Somaliland, and especially regarding mineral access and military presence? How might this arrangement affect long-standing international recognition and them as an independent state?
First of all, the first country recognized Somaliland, it was Israel. So that's because one of the significant plan for the Israel to divide the region, to divide Middle East to several of country, and based on the national and based on the sector, also based on the religions. So this is in the benefit of the Israel. If you will see, Israel, the first country, also recognized in Iraq the Kurdistan. So also Israel was of the first country who support also Druze in Syria, and support also the Kurd in Syria, in Qasad for the forces. So all of these Syrian democratic forces. So all of these things, Israel, it's in the benefit of the Israel. Also in South Sudan, the first country also recognized it. South Sudan, it was Israel. So Israel this is in the benefit of the Israel. So as well as, especially Somaliland has a strategic geographically location is very strategic for Israel as well, because as you mentioned, it could be a defense area from that Houthis attack, and since that time Houthi feel that dangerous. Since that time Houthi have been changed the rule of the game in that the collapse in the with fighting with Israel, and about the missile, and about that the Red Sea. So these things, it's in the benefit of the Israel. That's it. The Somaliland, it's ready to open with Israel and America. Definitely it will take their benefits. Definitely they will be obtain several of things from this kind of relationship. But in my opinion, these things, it will never success. We have seen that South Sudan, what happened with them? They're still suffering from the poverty. They are still suffering from several of things, but socio-politically they are also loser and failure, so they didn't success in anything. As well as Kurdistan and Iraq, they still, despite they have a petrol and they have oil, but still has a economical crisis. I have a friend from Kurdistan, and they are talking every time about it, about the economical crisis from there, despite they have several of benefit, not only from America and Israel, from all the international community, and they are because of they are a Kurd minority. So the thing is, this kind of model, it will not success there. So I guess it will not be also. They will have a no long life. Somaliland, it's most of the country, they consider it as interfering in the Somalia's issue. But the thing is here also, we have seen also Hamidati in Sudan. All of these kind of models and all of these kind of things, it will not success. So despite America, it will support them because the administration of United Nations, it will of the United States, it will change after Donald Trump. So no one will support Somaliland after also Benjamin Netanyahu because who's the only person who's believing in this? They will not support them. So this kind of model it will fail. Yes.
Sorry, Ali, we just need to interrupt you and move on, but thank you so much for joining us here today on NewsX World. Ukrainian Air Force has said that Russia has launched 50 missiles and 297 drones in an overnight attack against Ukraine. The Air Force has added that the air defense units have shot down or neutralized 33 missiles and 274 drones. The Ukrainian authorities have reported that the attack has caused a building to collapse in the town of Fastiv in Kyiv, killing one person and injuring 7 people, including 4 children. The authorities have also reported that the drone strikes in Sumy Oblast has killed 4 people, including a 17-year-old boy. We are now being rejoined by Dr. Gilbert Doctorow. Thank you for rejoining us here today on NewsX World. Does the intensity of these strikes signal an escalation, or has this become a regular pattern in this conflict? And how might these attacks influence Ukraine's capacity to engage in diplomatic talks, including peace negotiations?
Well, this has become a regular incident. The war is the war, and it keeps on going. And there is no movement at the negotiating table to bring the two parties together on the most critical issue, which is the willingness of Ukraine to admit that it has lost the Donbass. As soon as that happens, these strikes will end. The Russians have made it very plain. That is the precondition for a truce, for a ceasefire, that the Ukrainians begin to withdraw from Donbass. Until that time, we will see this level of intensity day after day.
And can continued high-volume attacks change the level of international support or reshape strategic assistance from allies?
Well, the level of international support is much narrower than it would appear. It comes down to a very few large powers in Europe. That is England, France, and Germany. They are the main drivers of the Ukrainian war effort and cheerleaders for Ukraine, and they are the most delusional in their public statements. We heard yesterday that Boris Johnson saying that England should once send troops on the ground to Ukraine as a warning to Russia, and to be ready for when the peace agreement is reached so that they can take their stations at the front lines. This is utter madness. It is Boris Johnson who destroyed the chances for peace 1.5 months into the war, when the conditions that were offered to Ukraine to end the war were vastly better than anything they can achieve today. And this same Boris Johnson is looking for the utter destruction of Ukraine and the destruction of any British forces which might be foolish enough to venture into Ukraine. They'll be destroyed at once by Russia. So there is the unwillingness to face the facts of life, that these leaders in Western Europe are encouraging Ukraine, are prompting Ukraine, are goading Ukraine into continuing a hopeless war.
And how effective are Ukraine's air defences likely to be against such a large-scale aerial assaults? And what does this mean for future conflict dynamics?
Well, I don't pretend to have any specific information on the effectiveness of the air defense in combating these 50 ballistic missiles and 267 drones. I just doubt seriously that Ukraine succeeded in knocking down any ballistic missiles, and that knocked down enough of the drones to have an effect on the mission. They do not have, simply do not have, enough air defenses. And all talk of bolstering those air defenses is just talk.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gilbert, for joining us here today on NewsX World. Thank you. According to sources, OpenAI expects to spend around $600 billion on computing resources through 2030. The projected spending highlights the rapidly rising costs of training and running advanced artificial intelligence models. Demands for powerful data centers, specialized chips, and energy is growing as AI systems become more complex and widely used. The figure underscores the scale of investment required to maintain leadership in the global AI race. The expected spending could shape the future of the AI industry as companies race to secure computing power and scale up infrastructure to support next-generation models. That's all we have time for. Keep watching NewsX World for more news updates from around the world.